we're just going to do a little bonus video because I felt like it. Because, of course, saw this in my feed on my phone and I was just like, maybe I should take a look at this. This is Donnie, Standing for Truth Ministries, because everyone's got to have their own fucking ministry. Um, Covering the subject. This must be an excerpt from something. I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter. But video's titled Neanderthals Destroy Young Earth Creation? Responding to the Critics. Now, Neanderthals were a hominid species that went extinct about 40,000 years ago or so. Or lived until about, 40,000 years ago. Of course, this is the Wikipedia article, and it's long. I cannot surmise it here. Um, and it's not like a creationist is going to accept it anyway, but just for context, they were a human species, a hominid species that was actually around at the same time early humans were. Um, when we made the move into Europe, we encountered them. That was their domain. And apparently a little bit of interbreeding went on, but also they kind of went extinct. We're not sure on the exact details, but yeah, that's what happened. So that's that's known. That's understood. Some nuances might be lost, but that's fact. That's reality. And of course, we're talking about hominids that existed 40,000 years ago. Well, one, there shouldn't be anything other than, modern humans if we're all specially created. We shouldn't find all these other hominids. And of course, comes the creationist problem of, oh, it's an ape. Oh, it's just an old human with a big brow ridge. And when you line up the skulls and stuff, creationists can't agree on what's what, and sometimes will call um, the same skull both human and ape. I mean, technically they're all ape, but they will say one's non-human and one is definitely human, but it's the same damn skull. It's really funny when they do that. Um, so, right, we're going to hit this video up. I want to preface this by saying I don't like Donnie at all. I've seen people say he's a good debate moderator. He's not. He's biased as fuck. He's another young earth creationist. He's another scumbag. A tier below Kent, but nonetheless a complete scumbag. I don't like the guy. I'm pretty sure at this stage he's actually aware of me and doesn't have good opinions of me either, which is fine. Don't give a fuck. Um, but yeah, I think Donnie here is, just a top tier jerk ass. Like I said, below Kent, but not by much. So with that announcement of bias in the way, I've already looked at what Donnie has to say, heard him talk, heard him say things, and he's just another Christian scumbag. Said it. I'll say it a dozen times. Sorry. With that, already known, let's get into it. Just felt like I had to preface that for some reason.
Going to present screen.
Oh, and I skipped his annoying ass intro because his intro is loud, annoying, and way too, try hard for what's a damn StreamYard stream.
And we'll listen to this for a minute. It's actually, in a way, a direct response to a video you and I did together, Dr. Bergman. And so this is Gutsick Gibbon. She is in the chat. She has a popular YouTube channel where she...
Shout out to Erica, Gutsick Gibbon. She's awesome. Just really good stuff from her. Love her work.
She challenges young earth creation and those...
You say challenge young earth creation. It really is challenging science-denying nut jobs and speaking facts. That's simple.
Who would reject evolution. So she has a video here titled Neanderthals Make Young Earth Creationism Impossible. And so in many ways, I do appreciate our skeptics and critics that are willing to engage with us and to interact with the topic of origins in general, because it is an important topic, Jerry.
In a weird way, it really isn't. Because it kind of doesn't change our lives really all that much, knowing details about where we come from. But people do like to know these things. And it's become super important to you guys because it sets up an entire, way that the universe works. Because it's all tied together. Whereas those that are scientifically minded and curious just want to know the facts. But knowing of Neanderthal and their history doesn't actually change my day-to-day life at all. learning about any early hominid doesn't change it in the bit. The most it does is make me think more about our current ethnic divisions, how they developed from um, the first Homo sapiens coming out of Africa, and then how it all ties, back, and just thinking about our origins as a thought study. That doesn't really affect my daily life. It's just something I think about and something I can appreciate. So, to say it's a really important question, it really, honestly, in the grand scheme, kind of isn't. It's still a damn interesting thing to study, though, and to learn about. Quite fascinating. And it does have benefits, but it's just not one of those things that you just is like the ultimate question. It's really not.
So I just want to play this for a minute or so and then get your thoughts on.
I'm going to play the random part of the video for a minute or so and get some weird guy's thoughts, because that's what I do, because I'm Donnie, and I learned after Kent, because, I'm standing for truth, standing for bullshit ministries. Donnie, got him.
On what she's saying here. So we'll start it right now.
Also, for fuck's sake, Donnie, either get YouTube Premium, get ad block, if it still works at all on YouTube, I don't know, or fucking at least switch to a dark mode, dude. Just come on, bro. Come on.
The differences in these two crania, right, in the two skulls, in the way that I teach my students, in the way that I think is most memorable. Neanderthals have a prominent brow ridge, a large nasal aperture, tapered orbits, swept back zygomatics, and the presence of an occipital bun in combination with a very unique cranial vault shape that is platycephalic, like low and long, and a non-vaulted forehead.
I mean, you look at that. You look at the specimen on the left and tell me that is Homo sapien. Tell me that is a normal modern human. Obviously not. It is obviously something very close, but still different. And the creationists just want to be like, oh, it's just an old man. Oh, they lived for all these years, and oh, it's just they had a disease or something. No, because we constantly find specimens that match. Specimens that fit this morphology in the areas we'd expect to find them. So they were definitely hominids, definitely are, to a degree, you could almost say brothers and sisters more so than cousins. It feels like that. Obviously, that genetically close enough to interbreed, so there you go. But you've got these creatures this close to us, around the same time as us. But they're just different enough. It's beautiful. It's sad that they're not around anymore. I feel bad thinking about species that have gone extinct, because it's like, oh man, kind of wish I could just experience a specimen of that. But that's just not how life works. And in this case, Homo sapien took over. But it's just wild to see that skull, and think anything other than, wow, that's so similar, yet still not us. It's right there. And I'm not saying that as in, oh, we evolved from Neanderthals. We didn't. We were contemporary to each other. But that's a direction a branch of our ancestors went. So cool.
Head. So you can combine all of those things together and say those are Neanderthal autapomorphies. I often see creationists will point to living people, like with a big brow ridge or something like that, and they'll say, see, that looks like a Neanderthal. That guy looks like he could be a Neanderthal. Therefore, the morphology that defines Neanderthals is not sufficient. They're not a sufficient suite to distinguish them.
I mean, we could point to, and you have pointed to in previous presentations here, to actors, boxers.
Oh man, we've got videoception here. We got these two clowns in Erica's video that they're playing to watch. They're playing it to watch it, so the middle is the video of them that's in Erica's video that they're watching on the left, that I'm watching right here, and with my border around, and I'm pointing like you can see me point, but we got videoception going on, baby.
There's one specific Russian boxer, Nikolai, I think his name is, where they have that distinct Neanderthal trait in the brow ridge.
If you were to compare his skull, it still wouldn't look anything similar. I can tell from here. It is just that brow ridge alone is not at all, one, the same. Kind of similar with the skin on top, you know, you're going to think that, but it's not at all the same. None of the other features are the same. It's not one static feature that define these things. Sometimes it can be, but in the case with Neanderthal, it's quite a few diagnostic characteristics that are found consistent within the record of the organism, of this life form, of its remains, that show that it was a population of some kind of hominid that was distinct from Homo sapien. Just because a guy happens to be a bit brutish, you know, in what we'd call brutish in appearance, doesn't magically mean, oh, Neanderthals didn't exist. They were just boxers. They were just Russian boxers. You know, brought up in the trained on the hard streets of Soviet Moscow before the collapse of the wall, because communism failed, Hovland. No, I'm Donnie, and I'm gonna defend Kent Hovland. He can say whatever deplorable shit he wants, but whenever anyone else says anything, I'm just gonna step in the mic and be like, no, okay, you had enough. There, Donnie is Napoleon Dynamite. Gosh.
So modern day people have Neanderthal traits.
But I'm really sorry. A brow ridge is one characteristic of dozens of autapomorphies, and I'm...
Ooh, I called it. As I hadn't seen Erica's video on this. Like I said, I like her content. I actually don't get too much of an opportunity to watch it in between all the other stuff I end up wanting to do. So I feel kind of bad. But I have to be in the right mood for certain people's videos. It's like I hadn't seen that. But I knew that's where this stuff was going to go because unlike creationists, and much like those of you watching, I pay attention. I try my best to retain the information, to accept it, to understand it, to compare it to what I know, what I've seen previously, and see where it all adds up. And that process has a nice side effect of me rejecting complete bullshit like 6,000-year-old planet made of, populated by dirt men and rib women.
Only listing a few here. There is not a human alive that has more than 5, I would say. It's a ballpark swing, and I bet most of them are minute. There's not a human alive that has the combination that I just mentioned going over this now. And if I'm wrong
exactly
on that, all you gotta do is show me the skull. So let's move on to the man.
Okay, so let's stop it there to summarize or reiterate her points.
Yeah, let's play a tiny bit of her video and then be like, so summarize and reiterate her points and stuff, Hovland. You know what's funny is when they do stuff like this, you get a little chance to see behind the scenes and see their, in StreamYard, what he's doing. If I gave a damn, I'd probably try to enhance that, you know, in my own time. But it doesn't matter. It's just funny when people do this, because I try hard not to, you know, have too much little behind-the-scenes stuff snip in. Y'all would be terrified by my computer desktop. It is nothing but a mess of icons, folders, text documents, pictures, and random data. Configuration files for projects, audio, video work. It's a shit show. It looks like a real desktop. It's shit's everywhere.
Dr. Bergman. Basically, she's arguing it's not 1, 2, or even 5 of these specific traits she's pointing to. Occipital bun, the brow ridges. We've discussed those unique features of Neanderthals. It's the fact that there's dozens and we don't find any extant humans.
It's the fact that all the traits combined together define Neanderthal, or diagnostic traits of it, so that we can define a specimen as Neanderthal, and we do not find that in Homo sapien. You might find something that's similar, that's analogous, but you're not finding the complete suite.
Today, with that suite of traits that you find in Neanderthals or other robust humans. And so Neanderthals couldn't have descended from Adam and Eve. They must be a sister species. They're too morphologically different for us young Earth creationists to explain.
Also, I had to look up this Jerry Bergman guy. Yeah, I got a source saying he is definitely a doctor, because honestly, after Kent, you got to put every claim of someone being a doctor to scrutiny. But of course, this is a creation.com article, so I don't know what value that actually has in the grand scheme. I mean, I know not much, but you know how seriously I can take this. It doesn't matter, but I was just curious and looked him up.
And so I was wondering your thoughts on that, because you did just put out an article that I thought was excellent on Neanderthals You titled it Neanderthals Are Us.
Of course you thought it was excellent, Donnie. You're going to think anything that promotes your sociopathic view of the universe is just the best thing ever. Honestly, makes me want to publish a piece in some sort of creation. That's an idea right there. I should see if I can get a piece put somewhere. That's an idea, just to see what would happen. Stay tuned.
August 21st, 2024. We can talk about that in a second, a little bit. Jerry, I'd be wondering what a good response is to what she's saying.
Well, the fact is we can interbreed with Neanderthals, and therefore, as we have done so, probably we had several different groups we interbred with, and that may be why there's so much variety we find in human beings today. Many of us, including me, I had my DNA done by 23andMe, and they found I was 5% Neanderthal. And so many people from my area where I was from, Eastern Europe, have.
Oh ho, I'm glad I looked up this guy a little further because he's spewing straight bullshit. I mean, not that he isn't already, but according to good old Rational Wiki, Gerald R. Jerry Bergman, a young Earth creationist affiliated with Institute for Creation Research, so ICR, appears on Creation Ministries International's list of scientists alive today who accept the biblical account of creation. He has a doctorate in human biology, 1992, from Columbia Pacific University, a non-accredited correspondence school that the Marin County Superior Court ordered to cease operations in California in 1999. So he is a fraud just like Hovind. Ergo, what he says has no value whatsoever, and he can fuck off right next to Donnie and right next to Kent. In the cesspool out back, we're going to throw him in once they kick the bucket. God, that was mean of me. I'm glad I said it. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, man, that was dark even for me. Not really, but yeah.
Neanderthal traits. And so if you had 10,000 Neanderthals, not the skull that she had, which was obviously broken in many pieces and they had to put it together, if you had a dozen.
Yeah, that's how you do reconstructive work. What are you trying to say? That they lied? Huh? You know, y'all seem to really like to throw around that other people are lying all the time. I think it's a bit of rejection right there. Or I could alternately say, if they were lying, what's wrong with that? You do it all the fucking time.
Or 1,000 Neanderthals, then you could get some average traits. But my guess is you would find there's a variety of traits among that 1,000 as there is among humans.
Yeah, but you line a whole bunch of human skulls up together, they look pretty damn similar. A lot of the trait changes that are a side effect of our ethnicity and our genetic heritage are very subtle. And with the homogeneity of the species on a whole, things are really, really pretty damn, they're damn well blended even amongst what we have today. Neanderthals are actually quite distinct in a lot of ways, a lot more variation than modern humans would have. But these diagnostic traits still don't change. You know, the morphology may be a little altered depending on, where they're from, their, gender, what have you. Same as a human, same as any animal skull, but I mean, it's gonna be basically the same when you really look at them in comparison. That's how this stuff works. Just, I'm rambling at this stage. Y'all know what I mean. This guy, though. This guy. Whew.
And so why she says that all Neanderthals, I don't think she's even saying this, but she's implying all Neanderthals have all of these, 16 traits she stated? Or
Yes, as my understanding would go, since they are some of the diagnostic traits when looking at a Neanderthal skull and judging it to be Neanderthal, yeah, they're supposed to have those traits. That's kind of indicative of the species, just like the traits that make Homo sapien are indicative to the species. Indicative of the species, y'all know what I mean. Well, not these clowns on screen, but you guys watching. Y'all are awesome. Give the video a like if you're enjoying. We're having fun here. That's the goal. Have some fun here. Laugh at these clowns. And really, that's the end result. That's just what I do. And if it makes their day a little worse, if it pisses them off, then I've done my job.
One more. So to me, that's presumptuous that you can say that because we don't know that. Unless now I know we have a lot of Neanderthal bones and we managed to assemble them. But that's very, and the assembly takes a lot of skill, and also we have very few total. In fact, I don't think we have a single total Neanderthal skeleton, not one.
But if we have a whole lot of mostly complete skeletons, the parts missing will probably be present on others. And then we can use some basic problem solving, some basic logic, to mentally reassemble the entire thing. It's basic forensics work. It's not that hard of a concept, and y'all accept forensics, but when it goes back to stuff that wasn't, 20 minutes ago, you're like, oh no. Or stuff that wasn't up to 6,000 years ago. Once it goes past that, it's like, that's not real. You don't have the billions of years.
We have made one out of many other different skeletons. And so we produced one, but it has probably 30 different sources for the bones they used to produce this one.
I'm going to call that dishonest. I mean, the Wikipedia article has does show this skeleton right here, an approximate reconstruction of a Neanderthal skeleton. The central rib cage, including the sternum and parts of the pelvis, are for modern humans. But they're, again, acknowledging that, sort of showing that this would be modern human components that fit in pretty well and would provide an accurate enough representation is where I think they're going with it. But the fact that they acknowledge this, if they were as dishonest as you say they are, they wouldn't acknowledge these things at all. That's the thing y'all don't want to acknowledge. A lot of acknowledgement going on here, is that science is honest. Whereas creationism is nothing but lying. You have to lie by default.
I think it is profound that we do have their genetics. We have Neanderthal genes and DNA. And so that would tell us.
Donnie, clear out your nose. You're as bad as Kent over there. And I should talk. I've had sinus trouble my entire life. I'm trying to make sure it doesn't end up in the recording.
That we interbred with them, reproduce with them, reproduce with them. We had kids, progeny. And so I've heard many paleoanthropologists in the conventional sense, non-young earth creationists, say Neanderthals are us, just adapted to a cold ecoglacial environment. That's what they've said, not non-creationists. And so with Erica's video, I made a couple notes, and I also discussed or consulted Dr. Peter Line as well, who has a lot of knowledge on this, and you've written a book with. And so what I noted is that she, in her video, makes plenty of assumptions. So if people watch the whole video, you'll find some presumptions there that the cranial morphology of Adam and Eve looked like average modern humans of today. And so I would argue, Dr. Jerry, that the reality is we simply don't know what Adam and Eve look like.
So you don't know what they look like, but you're going to treat them like normal people. Define whatever normal is, for all accounts, and that any aberration from this perceived norm is bad. Now I'm talking in the grand picture. Interesting.
Nor do we know what Noah and his family look like. And so if the Bible's account of ancient people is true, that's our starting point, and they lived for hundreds of years, then there had to have been something different about them. We know they lived in different environments, and we know that environment, due to epigenetics for many reasons, has profound effects on morphology.
And look at that right there. We're going to use science where we can, take advantage of it to make ourselves sound smart. But we're going to reject science and anything that doesn't fit our magic storybook. Just, I would say play a drinking game when they do that, but you watch a single creationist video, you'd wind up with alcohol poisoning doing that.
So I think, and I wonder if you would agree, it's kind of making an assumption that extant humans today morphologically looked exactly like pre-flood or even immediate post-flood humans.
A lot of assumptions there, and I
A lot of assumptions there. Yeah, that's all y'all have.
agree with you. She's making an awful lot of assumptions, and
Oh, you're trying to say Erica was making a bunch of assumptions. Well, see, if we're talking about your magic stories, you'd think that they would go into more detail, but something I find really funny is if Genesis is supposed to be so fucking important, why is it such a small section of the story? It is tiny compared to everything else, as if in the grand scheme it really didn't matter that much. And the fairy tale just got morphed to where that became the critical part once we hit section 2 with Happy Magical Sacrifice Self to Self Man.
she has a pair of thick evolution glasses, and she just can't see the world the way it is. She doesn't want to see the world the way it is.
Ah, yes, the outright claims of denial. That people who follow science, study this stuff, are well educated, and understand all the myriad of nuance that goes into all of this are just blind. They just don't want to see. And you guys know the answer. You know. That's why you're the ones curing diseases. Helping, people, live through horrors that your own deity doesn't seem to do shit about. I'm not going to get into it, but yeah. Y'all ain't doing shit about anything. Y'all just wasting time, digital storage space, oxygen, food, everything. Other people out there actually getting something done, taking advantage of the knowledge we have. It's pathetic. You two suck.
I'm not sure why she's so anxious to prove evolution, but she is.
Hey, buddy, why don't you pray to make that cough go away? Let's see how long that takes. Or you go get some medication for that. Or maybe follow a procedure, like a little particular cough or something pattern that, someone in the medical profession figured out. Just any old thing. Just saying. And you wonder why someone is so, anxious, as you say, to prove something. Excuse me, had to yawn there. It's a matter of countering the idiocy people like you spit out constantly. Because it's just wrong. You know it is, and you don't care. Because, ironically, y'all's funding is the one tied to lying. You reverse everything, it's a constant case of projection. Conspiracy theory people like Donnie, people like Kent have about scientists are all, they won't get their stuff published if they say anything against this stuff. It's all for the money, they won't get their funding. No, it's because it's reality. If y'all were to go against your precious Bible, you'd lose all your donations. Because then you'd be contradicting the word of God, and your gullible sheep don't like that.
Take care of my cough here.
No worries. Take your time, Jay. I appreciate you doing this. Yeah, because if Noah and his family were morphologically heterogeneous, let's say, or just diverse, a lot more diverse, then the features that we see that she points to, these specific traits, even the dozens of them that we see in robust humans, okay, those plus the traits that make...
What did you mean by dozens of them that we see in robust humans? Are you still... Sorry, having a bit of a yawning fit. Are you still trying to weasel in the idea, the false idea that lots of people have all the Neanderthal traits, or a large portion of them? Because they don't, Donnie.
Modern extant humans, unique, can be explained. I mean, we have this dispersal event at Babel we would see different groups of people basically taking subsets of that pre-existing variation, both genetic and morphological. They would take those into different parts of the globe.
You seem to be skipping the massive amount of incest that would have to go on. Just saying.
They would then become isolated and become a little more prominent. And so I think those...
Or people could have wandered out of Africa at some point in the past 300 million years, around that time, and slowly adventured across the planet. Man, yawning fits like crazy. These people put me to sleep. That might explain the different traits and different ethnic lineages that we see, and also why some traits seem to follow the way they do. Because, coming out of Africa, groups into Europe, groups into Eurasia, groups through Asia, south to Australia, on across, eventually over to North America, on through Central to South America. Got a lot of traits that kind of flow in that pattern. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Those features can certainly be explained. And so, Jerry, on that note,
remember, that's the creationist criteria for anything being a valid idea, is if it can be explained by it. I can explain that Fluffy the Magic Unicorn farted everything into existence back 6 minutes ago, and that we all just have false memories of this. It explains everything, so there you go. It's Fluffy the Magic Unicorn farting up now 7 minutes ago. It's a more believable story than your bullshit.
I want to show your article here. Neanderthals are us. So this is up to date, and you point out research.
I reject the use of the R Us branding in a way similar to Toys R Us. I worked there for a little while. It was an awesome place, and I take that personally. Them's fighting trademark infringements right there. Yeah. I'm sorry, I know he's an old man, but he's like leaned all in like, huh? What's going on here? I know I'm being mean to this guy, but I don't have a reason to be nice to him. Let's be real.
Research shows that one formerly leading missing link.
Oh, also, he mentioned this is current, as in, like, this is new, as in this is not dated information. Sorry again, yawning. When, or as if that the age of something makes it valid or not. I guess as a counter to Kent bringing up, 30 and 40-year-old scientific articles, like, well, this is a more current one. It's like, and if it still isn't correct, it isn't correct, or vice versa. It being recent doesn't make it correct or incorrect, or it being old doesn't make it correct or incorrect. It's a matter of not refining your actual first-hand sources, and this guy's article is not a first-hand source. This guy's got an illegitimate degree. His opinion means nothing.
Is now a recent member of the human family. And this is based on a relatively new secular paper, from my understanding. And so, Jerry, can you give us the
translation? Jerry here probably cherry-picked every bit of bullshit he possibly can to try to spin it like Magic Sky Daddy, blah, 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 Mystic Flood, blah, 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 creation. And he gets paid to do this shit. Boy, I wish I could get paid to lie all the time.
The importance of your findings here and what you wrote about Neanderthals?
Well, Neanderthals was one of the chief proofs of evolution for probably a century or more. And this was in all the textbooks. It was taught in the schools.
We don't have proofs in science. Proofs, whichever way you want to do it. Neanderthal and our clear relation to them are good evidence supporting evolution, and indeed indicative of and only makes sense in the light of evolution.
Generations. And now we know that these claims are totally wrong. We're talking about simply another people group which in every way is human, some facial differences, some probably other differences, but on the other hand, we're talking about a huge mistake they made, a racist mistake, which we recognize now, that...
yes, cries of racism from the truest racists out there.
It was made by the evolutionists. One of my main interests is that so many of the ideas that evolutionists propounded the past century are wrong, totally wrong. Not only wrong, but embarrassingly wrong. And this is just one of many examples where they're just as well recognized, they're just us.
I don't know how to mute my phone during a live stream. This stuff is important, but not important enough to mute my goddamn phone. Now, granted, if someone was to call me, this little phone right here would start ringing, but no one has any real reason to call me. And by phone, I mean I'm literally pointing to a, old rotary deal that, sits on my desk because, well, that's a whole other story of my interest. Because unlike these guys, and unlike Kent, I have actual hobbies and interests that go beyond this subject. Not pointing at my cell phone, which never rings because I pretty much always have it have it silenced. Silence, phone! In the name of science! 'Cause I don't like to be bothered. So,
Right. And I put out a video and I took an
And of course we can't read any of this shit, so it really doesn't matter.
excerpt from a lecture. I think it was in 2022 now. And it was a respected paleo anthropologist. And he concluded Neanderthals are not a different species. Neanderthals are us, just adapted to a cold ecoglacial system. So it sounds like there's ongoing debate and controversy within the conventional paleoanthropological community.
That should show you how nuanced evolution is, if there is such a debate going on, how nuanced the differentiation of species can be. And again, the fact that interfertility between extremely genetically close creatures makes total sense, and is again indicative of evolutionary processes. But y'all want to just make it where it's like, oh no, they were just normal people, when obviously they were not. They were not human. And they were not Homo sapien, I should say. Because to be a hominid means human, and that's a large list of creatures, so they were not Homo sapien. They were human. They were Homo neanderthalis. Neanderthalensis? Neanderthalis? I can't remember. Which is it on my... Hang on, I done goofed. Hovens will never be the same. They are Homo neanderthalensis. Okay. Homo sapiens neanderthalensis. They're so close to us. But we still do have a reason to differentiate. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, there are siblings in the evolutionary scale.
Where we as creationists, we can say, yeah, we don't have a problem with that. We have their genes. We interbred with them. They're certainly human.
It's not a matter of having a problem with one thing or another. It's a matter of what most accurately describes these organisms. How do we best classify them as a way of understanding their place in the life that has existed on this planet and what we've documented? What value does that classification bring? How does it help us understand things better? Again, this is all nuance lost to people who think this way.
But morphologically distinct for many reasons. And so I appreciate your article here, Jerry.
Of course you do. And here we have some stupid outro because, Donnie's got to have his intros and outros. Yeah. There's what I had to say on this. Live reaction. Meh. It wasn't as interesting as I thought it'd be. Shout out to Erica. Really need to get back and watch more of her content, but I do love it when I do get it. Like, it doesn't show up in my subscription box. That's the problem. Like, my subscription feed, it's one of the channels that for some reason doesn't show. And I would turn on the notifications, but then I'd get bombarded with notifications constantly. Well, maybe not constantly, but I'd get more notifications than I'd want to have, and I'm trying to focus on just my comments. So it's a little overwhelming. It's a thing with me. So I guess I just need to remember to go and check her content from time to time, which you should as well, because Erica is pretty damn awesome. But Donnie, not so much. That other guy, not so much. He's a fraud. So his opinion doesn't matter. Donnie's opinion doesn't matter to me. Yeah, you just making shit up for money. What a career path.